So how should we respond when unimaginable situations turn our lives upside down? Is it possible to overcome devastating circumstances so we can still fulfill our purpose? Well, Scotty and Tiffany Smiley join us to answer these questions and to share their incredible true story. If you're enjoying Table Talk, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Remember to click that notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest posts. So do you think God allows tragedy, pain, and loss? And if so, how can we get through difficult seasons and come out stronger on the other side? Well, today's guest is here to share the amazing story of how losing his sight actually helped him to find unshakable faith. But before we get to that, join me around the table. It's my little twin today with her pink jackets, Kendra Kelly Dean. How are you?
This is such an amazing testimony about how God was always there if we were just willing to surrender and say, Lord, here's what I have. Take what I have and make it all for your glory. He's so faithful to do that. And people are gonna be blown away today.
Yeah, and Dorothy Newton, you know, welcome to the table. We wanna encourage people today that, you know, things don't always turn out the way we think they're going to in this lifetime.
That's right. No matter what happens, no matter what it is, he will always be there. He's there when it happens, you know, during the time, after, he's always there. His love never fails.
He's going to be faithful.
Yes, yes.
Anna Kendall, do you believe that?
I absolutely do.
In your bright blue.
Oh, you know, my husband,
so pretty.
My husband was in the Marine Corps for 11 years.
Yes.
And was made, he reached the rank of a major. And I believe so much in the military, and I'm so thrilled when I meet someone who has served our country. And I'm so sorry that he had the problems from that, but look at what God has done. This is just amazing.
Yeah, it is. So we're going to hear that story. Cindy Murdoch, are you ready? Were you encouraged today?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I am so encouraged, and encouraged as a guest, as a couple, but the hope they instill to people, the courage they have taken to stand and do what's right.
And we're just so glad to have Captain Scotty Smiley and his beautiful wife, Tiffany, here at the table.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, guys. Well, you know, when faced with unthinkable situations that transform our lives, how do we move forward? Can we really find wholeness and God's plan in the midst of our pain? Well, our guests are here to answer these questions and share their inspiring story. He is the U.S. Army's first blind active duty officer, and he's here with his beautiful wife. Again, welcome, Scotty and Tiffany Smiley. So glad you guys are here.
So happy to be here.
I'll tell you what, I love the book, Hope Unseen, because the fact of the matter is, Scotty, you trained and went to Iraq, and we're going to get to that part of the story. And I mean, we're kind of jumping ahead, but just quickly tell what happened to you in Iraq, and then we'll start over and kind of go through the story.
Yeah, serving in Iraq as a first lieutenant in the Army, in charge of 45 men, came face to face with a suspicious vehicle. Rules of engagement, I couldn't shoot unless I knew for 100% that they had a weapon. And unfortunately, my driver parked the striker vehicle about 30 yards from his vehicle on the same road. He's facing west, I'm facing east, no median, nothing in between us. Just a single man in the driver's seat in a silver Opel, had a gray button-up shirt on. His head was buzzed, face was buzzed. Both hands were on the steering wheel. I yelled at him to get out of his vehicle, and he shook his head no and took his hands off the steering wheel, and I yelled at him again. He responded in the same manner. Then he took his foot off the brake, and that's when I raised my M4 rifle to my shoulder. I fired a round in front of his vehicle, and then boom, my world went black.
So at that point, and we'll get into more of the story, but you lost your eyesight. You had a traumatic brain injury. Actually, you were paralyzed at first, right?
So lost both of my eyes, and obviously the story later being told to me, you know, immediately passed out, put into a medically induced coma, rushed from Mosul to Germany.
Flatlined several times on the way, lost, a lot of blood. They didn't even know if he was going to survive. They were taking him from one combat sport hospital to another to try to get him the care he needed.
Finally just, stabilized and woke up and was later told what had happened. And that's when the true, not just physical, mental, but spiritual journey really began.
Right, and we're gonna get into that. And of course, your book, Hope Unseen, the story of the U.S. Army's first blind active duty officer, which is quite a story in and of itself. How powerful was that bomb? Again, you were 30 yards away, and you were in a vehicle, and you had on protective. How powerful was it?
The entire vehicle disintegrated. Engine block, flew, 100 yards. Just the man took his own life. It disintegrated the vehicle. Created a crater in the ground I later heard about 5 yards wide, several yards deep, and this is on cement. So literally disintegrating. These men were willing to take their own lives to destroy, disrupt what the United States was now creating was a democracy.
And it was, the terrorists actually filmed it, and it was on YouTube until our U.S. government took it down.
Oh my goodness. Wow, wow, wow. If you're sitting there saying, you know what, I just can't get up, I can't do this happened, that happened. Well, watch this and know God still has incredible plans for your life. Let's watch.
I'll be conducting the Ironman a little different way. I'm blind. I've been blind for a little over 10 years, and so I need a partner for every part of the race. My partner, Andy Cooper, who's my brother-in-law, is the best partner in the world.
We had laid everything out pretty carefully the night before. The morning was a bit of a scramble like always because there's always last-minute adjustments.
Let's go get marked up.
Around 105 today is a high.
A natural athlete and having completed military diving school, Scotty is a strong asset in the water. Scotty and Andy completed the swim in 1 hour and 25 minutes, showing little signs of fatigue. They were greeted by the cheers and encouragement of spectators and family.
Right out of the water, you feel like $1 million. You get on the bike and your jersey's dripping wet and you're cool and you're excited and you're amped up. And we did just take off. I don't think either one of us felt our legs for the first, about 14 miles of the smaller loop. The most difficult part of that bike ride was when we got to the top of the hill on the second loop. We knew an aid station was coming up. We took what little water we had left and poured it over ourselves, which was only mildly refreshing.
Scotty and Andy were reaching their physical limits. The last leg of the marathon was in sight, but the finish couldn't feel further away.
Yay, Grady, they're coming! Go, Scotty! Let's go, Scotty!
I knew if I did stop, there'd be a huge chance I wouldn't get back up. By no means was I trying to skirt in on the last second. I was doing everything I could just to stay alive, to keep my body temperature down, but to keep moving.
You are an Iron Man! You are an Iron Man! Glad you're an Iron Man! Elizabeth, you're an Iron Man! You are an Iron Man!
That's what it began to mean to me, is that we don't give up on life. We don't give up on what struggles or trials may be facing us. When God meets us and says, good job, good and faithful servant, your race is complete.
And everybody at the table said that 3-letter word. Wow. And then we said it backwards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so that was amazing. But Tiffany, that's only one really although great accomplishment, but small compared to some of the other things he's done.
Oh, yeah. Scott, when Scotty was first blind, being at the hospital with him and obviously navigating the Army and everything we had to go through, I heard everyone telling him what he couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And, I knew, and God put in my heart and my spirit that I would never be that person. Yeah. That I would speak truth, hope, and life, and I would tell him everything that he could do. And maybe I regret that some days because he does some pretty amazing things. He's unstoppable. When people bring up Scotty, I say, yeah, he's superhuman. Like, I don't even know if he's a human,
Yes. So you two met, in high school?
Junior high.
Junior high. Yeah. And tell us, Tiffany, how, because nobody knows, you were prophetic back then and you circled Scotty.
I did. I grew up on a farm, and so I was bussed in junior high to the
You're just a country girl.
I was just a country girl, yes. Yeah. Bussed into the big junior high school, and, it was hard. People were mean, and kids are kind of mean, but there was one boy who was really nice, and his name was Scotty Smiley. Aww. And so I drew a heart around his picture, and I wrote future plans.
Oh, wow.
In 6th grade.
I didn't stand a chance. I didn't stand a chance.
That's right.
Your fate was sealed.
Exactly.
Yes. But we were just friends.
And you both knew the Lord.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
So, it's like you both had that foundation underneath you.
Yes.
But, y'all wouldn't get together, obviously, in junior high. You would go through high school and actually didn't start dating until...
It took some work. I think I had to grow a little more hair on my chest, get a little more muscle before she reminded the prophetic decision she had made years prior.
Well, so who asked who out, or who's talked to who first?
I think I asked, and she said no, and she had some crazy excuse. I got made fun of by my family, my siblings, but then
Wait. Tiffany, what was your excuse? Where was the heart at?
We were it was a summer heading into our senior year, and he called me in the summer to ask me out on a date, and I said, well, I have basketball practice. It was like a Sunday evening.
No one has basketball practice at 7 p.m.
But I was on the AAU team, and we actually did have basketball practice, but he
Okay, so it was legitimate.
It was, yeah, I wasn't. He still questions it, but yes. But he stayed persistent, and we ended up going out. I think we went to a movie. And then the rest is history.
Rest is history. Aww. So how long were you guys married? You were going to school.
Yep.
He was in military training, I guess the Rangers.
Yeah. I was at the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York for 4 years.
Okay. So y'all got married at some point. When did that happen?
December of 2003. Okay. We got married, and then he went off to Ranger school for 2 months. And you can recycle in Ranger school and can take a lot longer, but when he left, I said, you better not. You better get through this program quickly.
You leave after the honeymoon. Leave after the honeymoon. I said, I hope I see you in 62 days. She says, hope so. I was like, well, you can recycle. And she's you never said this?
Yeah.
She was like, 62 days, that's it, buddy. Yeah, you better be back.
Yeah, and you better be back. So that was the beginning sort of our military journey together as a
So how long were y'all married when he got through all of that program and actually was stationed in Iraq where this accident happened?
Yeah, so we celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary with him in Mosul, Iraq, and him calling me at like 11:30 the night of our anniversry to wish me happy anniversary.
And unfortunately, this is the nature of war. 15 minutes later, after I had said, I love you, I had lunch. A man walked into the cafeteria, blowing himself up, killing my boss and 20 other men and women in the military, permanently injuring hundreds and just destroying thousands of people's lives. And Tiffany, knowing I just wished her happy anniversary, how much I loved her, and told her I'm going to lunch. Wow. She pulls up on Yahoo to check emails if I wrote. It says lunch bombing, hundreds killed. And that, unfortunately, is the nature of war. All phones are shut down, all communication shut down.
So where were you when that happened?
I was walking back from the cafeteria, just literally 10 minutes after I had saluted my boss, Captain Bill Jacobson. Yeah.
So you were 10 minutes removed from that room where you would have been killed as well.
Yeah. Wow. And so, again, it's just God's holy power. At the same time, it's the nature of war and nature of mankind is there's so much evil and the intent of that evil. And again, the credit that the women and married individuals back home had to go through to not understand, just to see, there's just the unexpected of, did my husband just die? Did my spouse pass away? But again, the resiliency of families that really go through the unknown, that's many times where the battle lies.
Well, of course, you told us the story how the terrorist blew himself up. And what about the men that were with you? How were they injured?
A gentleman in the back who had one of the platoon machine guns had shrapnel in his face. I was told he was later returned to duty. My squad leader, who was in the back, he was knocked unconscious, woke up several seconds later. So, that is technically a traumatic brain injury, but everyone else was able to return back to duty that same day. Obviously, I received the most severe ramifications of that bomb.
Okay, so fast forward to, he's now in the hospital. I guess he's still unconscious.
Yeah.
And there's damage to his eyes, et cetera. They call you into a room to do what?
Yeah, so I had power of attorney, and Scotty was unconscious. He still couldn't move, this right side of his body, and they pulled me into a room since I had power of attorney and said, sign right here on this line, Mrs. Smiley, and we will medically retire your husband, and we'll begin the paperwork. Being a nurse, and nurses are the strongest advocates you could ever have in your corner. I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. Not only that, I'm in this room. I'm just a small town farm girl from Pasco, Washington, and I'm in this room with all these military officials and VA officials, and they're staring down at me. And I said, I'm not signing it. I thought it was absolutely wrong. So they pushed the paperwork in front of me and said, he has no eyes. He will never serve again. So sign right here. And I said, I am not signing it.
Wow, wow, wow. So eventually he came out of the coma.
Yes.
And what were some of the first things that you said to him? Because here you were just newlyweds, and your life's going to be changed forever.
Yes.
Because now you have a beautiful husband, but he can't see.
Right.
And that was another miracle, that his face wasn't disfigured.
Yes, the doctors, when they greeted me at Walter Reed, they said, Mrs. Smiley, we can't explain this, but we've never had an injury like this. Usually when there is a bombing and this type of injury, their faces are mutilated. He said the shrapnel just went right through both of his eyes. He said, I cannot describe it.
I'm still the same handsome man.
He just said it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But I knew, God really gave me a vision of hope for our future. So I walked in every day and just spoke truth, hope, and life. And I told Scotty everything he could be. I said, you're going to be a speaker someday. He's like, I can't speak. No one's going to listen to me. I said, you're going to write a book and share about this journey. He said, get out of my room, Do you know what my English teacher, what grade my English teacher gave me at West Point? It's like an F. I can't write a book. And I just constantly told him everything he could be. But it was a vision that God gave me. To speak that truth, hope, and life. And, really, God doesn't always have to show us those things here on earth. But he did. He showed us what, the power of just having that vision and that hope that he gives us.
Wow. Was there anything else, was there anybody else that came to visit you during that time that gave you hope?
One of the, I had just had my Purple Heart, and, it was just, that was difficult. But many men and women would want to come say, thank you for your service. Toby Keith, the country singer, he just passed away. Gary Sinise, the actor, he was Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump.
Yes, we love Gary Sinise.
It's wonderful.
And I said, no, I don't want them in my room. I don't want their sympathy. I didn't feel I deserved it. One of the first things I said to my dad was, some soldier, huh? I just felt like a failure, and I told everyone no. But Tiffany came in the room and said, hey, Scotty, this little boy wants to come and say hi to you. I said, who is it? And he says, it's Andrew Harris. And what's crazy is Andrew Harris was a boy who I taught Sunday school at West Point in first grade. Wow. And at the cadet chapel, they would let, the military academy is so close, they let the other, the community know who's been injured and who unfortunately has had their lives taken. And he asked his dad, can you drive me down? And to me, it's like, how could I tell this boy no? And at that point, God didn't necessarily show me, I have a purpose. He showed me he had a purpose. I didn't know what it was, but it had to start there. That if this boy came down, who I knew he looked up to me as a hero, and lying in the hospital bed, I did not look anything like a hero. I thought to myself, how could I tell him
What
no?
did he say to you when he came in the room?
He just held my hand, and his dad, who was one of my sponsors up at West Point, said, "We're proud of you. Thank you so much." And I probably said, "Thanks for coming." I was not in a good spiritual mindset, mental mindset. Sure. But it was that I really understood the essence of forgiveness. When Jesus is on the cross, he says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And I don't believe it just was the men and individuals who put him on that cross, but it was to all of us, crying out to God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I had to forgive the man who blew himself up.
Well, he didn't stay there. Okay, now we're going to leave him here for now, but he's coming out of this. Yes. You're going to come out of whatever you're going through too. But stay right there. We're going to be right back after the break.
Imagine facing a storm so vast, it threatens to engulf everything you've built. Would you falter, or would you find strength you never knew you had?
When a hurricane is tearing through your life, Jesus is the peace that stills the waters of your soul.
This is a tale of navigating life's fiercest tempests and discovering that sometimes the most profound truths are born in the heart of the storm. Get your copy now at daystar.com/shop.
Well, that's my book I was talking about, Through the Storm. I hope you'll pick up a copy of it. It kind of fits in with this story today. We all have storms. We're all going to go through difficulties. The Bible says, think it not strange, this fiery trial. I mean, you're going to have trials, but you know what? This is the thing, as a believer, if you know Jesus, if you've invited him into your heart, I'm going to tell you something, you're not alone. He'll take you by the hand. He will guide you through, and you will get through this, okay? You will get through it. Scotty, you got through it, but it wasn't an overnight process. But at some point, there was a turn in your heart, and you got back up again. Tell us about that.
It was me understanding the importance of forgiveness. And when Jesus asked God to forgive them, for they know not what they do, I also, the anger, the animosity I had to the man who took his own life, blinded me forever, traumatic brain injury, changed my wife, my family's life forever. I had to forgive him. And partly I felt I had to forgive myself for the decisions I've made and kind of putting myself there. Did I do the right thing? I didn't want to have anger. I didn't want to wake up at night or wake up in the morning saying, why did I do this? And that I also had to forgive myself. But most importantly, I had to ask God to forgive me. One of my good friends, Edward Graham, said, "Hey, Scotty, do you want to pray?" And I said, I don't know how to pray, and I don't think I know God. And that's just when Tiffany understood the importance of who.
Yeah, I was like, I stopped praying for his eyes. I'm like, I'm just gonna pray for his heart.
Yeah.
And that God would bring him back. He was known as the oak at West Point because he was so strong and steadfast in his faith. So it was hard to see him so wavering.
Yeah.
But God just pray for his heart. I'll bring him back tenfold. I'll bring him back more than he was before.
So was forgiveness an important part in his story? Huge.
Yes.
So there are people that have stumbled. I mean, you don't even understand why you can't move past it, and yet you've got bitterness and unforgiveness. See, unforgiveness turns into bitterness. It's a root that goes down deep into your soul, and you have to forgive, and you can't do that in and of yourself. But you can just lay it out there, and God can help you. Is that right, Tiffany?
Yes.
So did you see the turn when he started saying, okay, God, I forgive?
Yes, and I always say, Scotty, he is the happiest person on earth. He wakes up every day with the joy of the Lord, and that's only something that the Lord can do through you when you are willing to give that up and surrender and forgive and not harbor any of that anger and pain.
Right. Well, I know that, of course, we've got the book right here, Hope Unseen, which you need to get a copy of. It tells the whole story. But what else have you seen, with the Lord's help, Scotty accomplish?
Well, he went on and became the first blind active duty officer to ever serve our country.
Because you didn't sign.
Because I didn't sign. I said, there's a better path. Which, had never been done before. Went on and, I think most importantly, he would say this too, became a father of 3 amazing young boys.
And he was a teacher?
He was a teacher. He's
at West Point?
Professor at West Point, went back to Duke and got his MBA at Duke.
That's awesome.
Worked in ROTC, worked in the ROTC department, mentoring and training our country's future leaders.
Yeah. Yeah, and what an inspiration, right, for
Yes.
these guys to see.
Yes.
This is a guy that got back up again.
Absolutely.
And he's serving our country. Now, for you, it's exciting to understand that God's opened a supernatural door for you to be involved in something that you never thought you'd be involved in.
Never in a million
Tell everybody
years.
about that, because we
Yes.
go into Washington State with this program as well.
Yes, so I am currently running for Washington's 4th Congressional District. It's a very conservative district. It's a district that loves America and loves God and loves their families. And our family is, we never in a million years thought we'd get into politics, but we're at a turning point in our country. And me and Scotty want to know that we did everything we could to make sure that we are leaving our boys a country worth losing their eyesight for.
And you want to take care of veterans.
Yes.
And I mean, there's almost like, I know my father-in-law was a veteran and lost one of his eyes and with shrapnel. And near the last years of his life, he virtually couldn't get the help from the VA that was due him.
Yes.
And we of course took care of him.
Right.
But you think about how many that don't have family that can take care of them. And this is something you want to change.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It was at Walter Reed at 23 years old where it was some of the highest casualties our country was facing. Men and women were coming in every single day, and it was overwhelming. And I broke down on the floor sobbing because I knew I could help Scotty. And God just said, Tiffany, you will help Scotty, and someday you'll come back and make it right for everyone else.
Yeah, and you really are concerned about some of the things going on in our schools.
Yes.
And some of the ideologies that are taking place in our classrooms.
Yes.
And Washington State is an important state to stand up.
It is. It absolutely is. We have 3 young boys, all of them in school. We've seen this firsthand. We need to get back to making sure that we are teaching children the Constitution, the foundation of this country. Yes. And I always say, let's focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yes. And let's bring God back into this country. Let's make sure that our children know that they have a future and they have a hope.
Yes.
And the 4th Congressional District in Washington State is I was saying, we love God, we love this country, love America, and we should be leading from that district for all of Washington State in this country. Everyone in the United States should know about the 4th District in Washington State.
Yes, yes. Dorothy, isn't that amazing?
Truly amazing. It's evident that only what we do for Christ will last. And that's why he has ordered your steps and you are moving forward. You've gotten through everything and he continuously uses you. What an inspiration.
Yeah.
So thank you.
We are out of time, and I want you to remember what Paul said in Romans 8:28. He said, we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. And no matter what you've experienced, you were made for a purpose. God has a plan for your life. No pain, trauma, or situation can keep him from using you. And yes, you know what? You may have difficulties. You may have gone through something terrible, but I'm telling you, if you will put your trust in God, invite Jesus into your heart today, just say, Jesus, come in today, forgive me. I'm telling you, he will meet you right where you are. And of course, that's why that number's on the screen. If you're watching, you need healing or restoration in your life, or maybe you need a miracle, I don't know, whatever you need, that's why that number's there. We have amazing prayer partners that are standing by, ready to pray with you, encourage you. I want to thank Scotty and Tiffany for joining us today. Be sure you pick up a copy of Scotty's book, Hope Unseen. For more information, you can visit them online at hopeunseen.com. As always, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. You can leave us a comment. Let us know how Table Talk is touching your life. Were you inspired by today's show? We love hearing from you. And you want to make sure you subscribe to the Joni Table Talk podcast. It's available right now across all top podcast apps. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Scotty.
Thank you.
Tiffany, we're going to be watching you from Washington State.
Yes.
You go fight, girl. I mean, for this country and for our veterans and for those Americans that want to see truth and justice lived out here in this great country. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, ladies. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for today.